Hello. Have you ever wondered how our homes are built? Is it like building a sandcastle? Or perhaps similar to building a Lego house? Well, let's answer those questions for you. We are a group of foundation students from Taylor's University, and we present to you the construction stages and the roles and responsibilities of the players in the construction industry. This is an imaginary building requested by a client, Mr. Philip. Ding! Alright, its total built-up area is 5,713 square feet. The type of land used is slightly sloping. The building is located at Subang Jaya, Malaysia, and of course, it will be authorized by the Subang Jaya Municipal Council or MPSJ. Now, based on Mr. Philip's requirement, the building needs to be 3 stories with a Balinese style interior design. Furthermore, a gold rating in Green Building Index or GBI needs to be achieved as well. Since the building is required to be built on a slightly sloped surface, structural retaining walls are essential. Let's look into each of these requirements in detail. Firstly, the imaginary building is a 3-story bungalow. Mr. Philip has quite a large family and he needs sufficient space to accommodate them as well as entertain guests. Next, Mr. Philip also requests for the imaginary building to have a Balinese interior design. Balinese design prioritizes usage of natural construction materials and is heavily influenced by Bali's Hindu and Javanese cultures. Aside from that, Mr. Philip also requests for a water feature to be implemented in the design. Moving on, Mr. Philip wants a gold rating in the Green Building Index GBI certification. GBI is a recognized green rating tool for buildings in Malaysia, which consists of 6 assessment criteria, which are energy efficiency, indoor environment quality, sustainable site planning and management, materials and resources, water efficiency, and innovation. Finally, we have the structural retaining walls. Building on a slope actually brings more harm than good. Not only is it unstable for the building, but it's also very costly and it's a waste of space as well. So, by using the concept of cut and fill, meaning to cut a slope portion and fill the gaps to create a flat ground, those harms can be resolved. With structural retaining walls, the soil is retained and the area becomes much more stable, cost-friendlier, and space-effective. Before we dive into the construction process, let's look into the profiles of the team players in the construction industry.
A client is an entity, individual, or organization commissioning and funding the project directly or indirectly. The duties of a client is to initiate project ideas, provide specifications for project budgeting and finances, and approves proposals and designs. The traits to be a good client is to be cooperative, understanding, and participative in the construction industry. An architect is a person who plans, designs, and reviews the construction of buildings by connecting the space within the site surrounding the buildings. The duties for being an architect is to lead the consultant team, be the middleman between client and contractor, as well as giving advice to client. Moreover, they need to be the main building designer and also apply and submitting various forms and proposals. The skill requirements and traits to be an architect is to have good drawing skills, have a logical understanding of space and function, and leadership skills. Furthermore, they need to have confidence in communication, have an understanding of computer technology, as well as photography skills. The professional organizations for architect is the Board of Architects Malaysia (BAM) and Malaysian Institute of Architects. To be a qualified architect, one needs to have an architecture license accredited by BAM. The education requirements to be an architect is to have a bachelor or a master degree recognized by BAM. A quantity surveyor is a person who calculates the amount of materials needed for building work and how much they will cost. The duties for a quantity surveyor is to prepare contracts, analyze and estimate costs, and carry out feasibility studies of client requests. Also, they arrange payment for contracts and they also carry out site visit. The skill requirements and traits for a quantity surveyor is to have methodical thinking skills, good construction knowledge, financial and numeracy management skills, computer literate, and understanding of building regulations. professional organizations for a quantity surveyor is the Board of Quantity Surveyors Malaysia, BQSM, and the Institution of Surveyors Malaysia, ISM. To be a qualified quantity surveyor, one needs to register as a professional quantity surveyor with BQSM. The education requirements for being a quantity surveyor is to have a bachelor degree in quantity surveying.
A civil and structural engineer is a person who design, analyze, construct, and maintain building structure by ensuring its safety, durability, and functionality. The duties of C&S Engineer is perform feasibility studies on projects, develop design of building foundation, make calculations about loads and stresses, supervise tendering process, manage budget, and understand safety standards of building construction. The skills requirements are technical competence, detail-oriented, good organization skills, IT skills, and analytical skills. The C&S Engineer is under Board of Engineers Malaysia and Institution of Engineers Malaysia. The qualification to become a C&S Engineer is to register as professional engineers with BEM. And the education requirements is a bachelor degree recognized by BEM.
A mechanical engineer is a person who design, analyze, manufacture, and maintain mechanical systems, whereas an electrical engineer is a person who deals with the study and application of electricity, electronics, and electromagnetism. The duties for an M&E engineer is to design installation of sewerage, plumbing, and electrical systems, evaluating tenders received for mechanical works, and supervising installation of building systems. Furthermore, they also do final check installation of building systems as well as maintaining and repair building systems. The skills requirement and traits to be an M&E engineer is to have effective technical skills, commercial awareness, problem-solving skills, as well as mathematical skills. The professional organizations for an M&E engineer is the Board of Engineers Malaysia, BEM, and Institution of Engineers Malaysia, IEM. To be a qualified M&E engineer, one needs to register as a professional engineer with the BEM. The education requirements to be an M&E engineer is to have a bachelor degree recognized by BEM.
A contractor undertakes a contract to provide materials or labor to perform a service or do a job. A subcontractor is hired by a contractor to carry out more specialized works as part of a larger project. The duties of a contractor include communicate with clients, visit construction site, estimate costs, and review plans. He also provides tools and materials and applies for permits. A good contractor needs to be detail-oriented and master the skills of plan reading, building, as well as personnel and budget management. The Construction Industry Development Board, or in short, CIDB, is a professional board that awards contractor license to a qualified contractor. The minimum education requirement to be a contractor is a construction-related diploma, or ideally a degree.
A landscape architect is the person who creates and designs outdoor areas, landmarks, and structure to achieve environmental, social, behavioral, or aesthetic outcomes. The duties of landscape architect are prepare landscape plans and drawings, survey sites, understand clients' requirements, produce contracts and estimated costs, and supervise progression of landscape projects. Skill requirements of landscape architect are analytical skills, creativity, technical skills, visualization skills, and drawing skills. The professional board of landscape architect in Malaysia is Institute of Landscape Architect Malaysia. To be a professional landscape architect, need to register for membership with ILAM. Education requirement of being a landscape architect is graduated in bachelor degree that recognized by ILAM.
An interior designer is a person who designs and enhances the interior of a building to achieve a healthier and more aesthetically pleasing environment for the people using the space. Some duties of the interior designer includes having to communicate with the client and interpret the client's brief. The interior designer also tailors space to reflect its inhabitants, propose interior finishes, as well as advise the consultant team. To become an interior designer, one needs to be creative, meticulous, have a logical understanding for function as well as a strong cultural understanding. Recently, interior designers in Malaysia fall under the Board of Architects Malaysia. To become an interior designer, one needs to have a degree or diploma in design or interior architecture.
A green specialist assists the consultant team in coming up with sustainable and energy-saving buildings. His duties are to explain GVI certification process with all rating requirements, provide strategies to help the project team in achieving desired GVI rating, and advise consultant team on the use of sustainable materials. He must have management skill, marketing skill, as well as theoretical and applicable knowledge in architecture, construction, and sustainability study. Green specialists don't have relevant professional board or specific education requirements, but they have to attend preparatory course to be qualified.
A land surveyor is a technical specialist who uses specialized tools to measure surface distance, carries out surveys, and prepare pre-con plan. A land surveyor needs to survey on boundaries of properties, carrying out topographical and certification survey, provide area mapping, and collect spatial land and geo information. The skill requirements for a land surveyor is to have scientific and mathematical skill, analytical ability, good oral, written communication skill, and visual creativity. The professional organization for land surveyor is the Board of Land Surveyor Malaysia. The qualification of land surveyor is to gain work experience and register as a licensed land surveyor. A bachelor degree of land surveying or survey science is needed in order to become a land surveyor.
A town planner is a person who identifies development opportunities and constraints, preparing and submitting development applications and obtaining development approvals. The duties of a town planner is to understand population trends, master knowledge of legal issues associated with land use, and making planning policies and implementing them. Also, they have to prepare and access development projects and making recommendations on zoning regulations. The skills requirements and traits to be a town planner is to have commercial awareness, project management skills, and research skills, as well as analytical abilities. The professional organizations for town planner is the Board of Town Planner, BTPM, and Malaysia Institute of Planners, MIP. To be a qualified town planner, one needs to have a town planner license awarded by CIDB to either be a graduate planner or a corporate planner. The education requirements to be a town planner is to have a bachelor or master degree which is recognized by MIP.
Now, let's understand each individual construction phase by referring to the construction process of our imaginary scenario. In overall, the construction process can be broken down into 5 phases, which is the schematic design phase, the design development phase, the contract documentation phase, the contract implementation and management phase, and the final completion phase. In the beginning, the client, with the building project in mind, would consult an architect. With the architect together, he will then form a consultant team, which in this scenario consists of the quantity surveyor, QS, the C&S engineer, the M&E engineer, the landscape architect, the interior designer or ID, the green building consultant, the land surveyor, and the town planner. In this case, Mr. Philip is the employer and the architect becomes the leader of the consultant team. The architect will visit the site with the client. If the client does not already own a land, the architect will advise the client on the site selection. In this scenario, Mr. Philip already owns a piece of land in Subang Jaya. The land surveyor will carry out soil investigation, which provides data regarding the subsoil condition and the site measurement, which determines the property boundary and the dimension of the land. These data are recorded and documented to assist the architect in conducting site analysis, which is the evaluation of physical, mental, and social characteristics of the site. Next, the consultant team will attend meetings with Mr. Philip to set a project brief and get it approved. The architect then prepares a conceptual sketch proposal based on the project brief according to how he envisions the completed imaginary bungalow. The QS, on the other hand, will estimate the preliminary costs based on the sketch proposal. So, to construct a high-quality 3-story bungalow which takes up an area of 5,713 square feet on a slightly sloping site, the estimated demolition and removal costs added with the construction costs and professional consultancy costs will add up to a whopping 2,405,000 ringgit. Of course, Mr. Philip will have to approve the architect and QS's work. Now, here comes the town planner. The town planner will proceed with the zoning search. Zoning is the process of dividing land in a municipality into zones in which certain land uses are permitted and prohibited. Zoning search is to prevent the new construction project from interfering with existing use of particular zone. After that, the town planner then comes up with a development proposal report, DPR, of the site, which mainly covers the following aspects. The DPR will then be sent to the planning department of MPSJ to apply for the planning permission. The M&E engineer will apply for electrical supply from National Electricity Board, which is Tenaga Nasional Berhad, and water supply from the State Water Authority, which in this case is the Syarikat Bekalan Air Selangor Sendirian Berhad, or SYABAS. On the other hand, the Green Building Consultant, as an applicant for GBI rating, will submit certification of title, project brief, and registration fee to Green Building Index Sendirian Berhad. In return, Green Building Index Sendirian Berhad will notify the applicant with a registration number and appoint a GBI certifier for future assessment of the building. Upon entering the design development phase, the architect will have to produce detailed architectural drawings which mainly illustrates the master plan, elevation, and sectional elevations of the imaginary bungalow. With the architectural drawings now done, the architect will then coordinate with the C&S engineer, M&E engineer, and the landscape architect to produce various design drawings. The Green Building Consultant acts as the advisor through the whole design process to ensure the building design meets with the requirements to achieve a gold rating in GBI. All these drawings will have to comply with the Malaysia's building codes, which is the Uniform Building Bylaws, UBBL. UBBL is the subsidiary law under the Street, Drainage and Building Act of 1974. It mainly regulates the health and safety, fire protection, constructional and structural requirements of buildings. The drawings and designs will be used as supporting documents for the application of building plans from MPSJ's building department and application of engineering plans from the engineering department. After all key design features are finalized, the Green Building Consultant will submit the project to the GBI certifier for design assessment. If all requirements are met, the GBI certifier will award the provisional certificate of GBI design assessment. Meanwhile, the architect will prepare the project planning and implementation schedule to ensure the project can run smoothly and be completed on time. In this phase, the architect will produce the construction and detailed drawings which show and illustrate how small surface details such as decorative elements and component parts fit together. Based on all the drawings from the design team, the QS will prepare the Bill of Quantities, or BQ, which is an itemized list of specific measured quantities that will be referred by the contractors to place bid during the tendering process later on. After that, the client will meet with the QS to receive advice on the procurement, tendering, and contractual procedure. The building contract will then be formed after taking the QS's advice into account. Following this, the QS will organize the calling of tender, which will also be supervised by the client and the architect. After the contractors place their bids, the QS will evaluate the tender with the architect and prepare tender reports to recommend the most suitable contractor for the project. The contract will then be signed between the client and the selected contractor, with the architect being the contract administrator he needs to ensure that the contract is carried out as agreed by both parties. As it is a contractor's responsibility to prepare resources such as machineries, labours, tools and materials, he will delegate portions of the contract work to subcontractors to undertake specialized work that he is responsible for but unable to perform. In this case, the contractor will be known as the main contractor. Before the project commences, let's fill in some forms, which includes Form B, which needs to be submitted to the Building Department of MPSJ to indicate commencement of building works. Other forms include Form KEJ02, which has to be submitted to the Engineering Department, Form PDC6, which is sent to Inda Water Consortium, and finally, Form JKJ103, which is sent to DOSH. During the construction phase, the contractor must practice health and safety precautions such as providing personal protective equipment to the workers, barricading the construction site, installing safety net and peripheral net, erecting scaffold tower with proper handrails, managing construction vehicles, and ensuring proper use of hoisting equipment. During the construction, the consultants, especially the architect, C&S Engineer and M&E Engineer, needs to conduct site visits and discuss the site issues with the contractor to ensure that everything on the site is going according to the building plan and specifications. Now, let's say the imaginary building is upon 50% completion. The contractor can request interim claims. The claims are assessed by the architect and QS based on the construction progress before the client makes the payment. When the basic structure of the bungalow is complete, the landscaping process will take place based on the landscape architect's design. Because Mr. Philip requests for a Balinese style interior design, the landscape architect would design a Balinese exterior to complement the indoors. These are some of the examples of Balinese landscape design elements. Now, the bungalow is finally constructed. But wait, there's more. The Form G, which consists of these 21 building components, need to be certified by their respective parties. Aside from that, clearance letters from these technical departments are also needed to support their certification. Some larger projects may need these too. Then, the architect or engineer, whoever is qualified, will issue an original copy of the Certificate of Completion and Compliance, CCC, to the client. Within 14 days of the issuance, certified true copies of the CCC and Form G needs to be submitted to the local authority and relevant professional boards. Note that the CCC can only be issued when it is satisfied that the building is fit and safe for occupancy. The architect will then issue a certificate of practical completion to the contractor. With this cert being issued, Mr. Philip will release 50% of retention sum to the contractor. The issuance of CPC indicates that the bungalow enters the defect liability period. Within this period, the contract needs to make the good defects on the bungalow upon complaints. This includes workmanship, material, and design defects. A typical liability period lasts 12 to 24 months. When the defect liability period expires, the architect issues a certificate of making good defects to the contractor, at which Mr. Philip will release full retention sum. In the end, the QS will coordinate with the client and contractor in calculating and agreeing adjustments on the contract sum, which is the amount originally set out in the contract to be paid to the contractor in order to decide the amount of payment and produce the final account. The architect, as the contract administrator, will then issue a final certificate to the contractor. Hey, now where's that ID? Well, here he is. When the bungalow is completed, as per the request of Mr. Philip, the ID will design the interior as to fit the Balinese theme. Here are some about the Balinese interior concepts. Within 12 months after the completion of the bungalow, the GBI certifier will undertake a completion and verification assessment on the building project. When the requirements of the gold rating are fulfilled, the GBI certifier finally awards the GBI certificate. Remember, the bungalow needs to be reassessed every 3 years in order to maintain its gold rating. So, what is the conclusion that can be made? Well, a building project is no easy task. Not only does a project have to undergo 5 tedious phases, but it also involves different professions from different parties working together to ensure the building is aesthetic, safe, and beneficial not only to the client, but also the society and the environment. Thank you.